VikesNow. I am Dustin Baker. I am here with Alli, who is a return guest. We have training camp that began today with rookies, plus Kirk Cousins and Brian O'Neill, a couple other veterans reporting. So I wanted to invite her back and pick her brain about training camp. But foremost, how are you? It's Sunday evening, and the viewers will be watching on Monday morning.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not bad. Tell me, in a nutshell, about your summer so far.
Oh, my summer has included working, working, and working. That's about it. No, summer has been good. A couple of Twins games, just kind of enjoying the humidity as much as any Minnesotan can, and just kind of taking it day by day. But no, it's been a good summer. I can't believe it's almost August. That's crazy to me.
A couple concerts too, right?
Oh my gosh. Literally the concert summer of my dreams. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I got to see Taylor Swift at the beginning of around the late spring. Got to see my therapist in concert. It was great. Thursday, got to see Queen Bee, Beyonce. Got to see my bad bitch hype woman. So no, it's literally been the best summer of my life for music wise. So I can appreciate that.
Well, that alleviates the work part, right?
100%.
All right, cool. All right, so I think we last spoke to you, at least on this show, around draft time. So yeah, arguably a lot has transpired after the draft. It's been kind of quiet on free agency outside of Dalvin Cook's release, but I want to get your input on some of the items that you're looking forward to with training camp, which again, veterans report on Tuesday. So I believe you have a list of about 5 things. I don't care which order you put them in, but in terms of what you're most excited to watch from afar or go once or twice, what's the first thing that you're looking forward to or watching with a keen eye on these Vikings?
Well, the first thing that I'm looking forward to is more. Well, I think it's a lot of people that are looking forward to is who's taking Phelan's spot. And for me, it's not only just like a fan perspective is to see where this team is going in the future, but it's also a nostalgia aspect for me because the last time I was at training camp, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, is the first season that Adam Thielen made the 53-man roster.
That's a decade-long drought for you.
2014, the summer of 2014. And this is like, it's no breaking news or anything. I'm sure everybody who attended that camp got to see Thielen perform, and everybody around me, including myself, was like, oh my God, this guy really can do something. Like, he is special. He has the it factor. And everybody was watching him. Everybody was commenting about him the entire day that I was there. And it was something that will never escape my memory. It was always going to stick in my mind is everybody in that crowd got to see a star born. So as bittersweet as it is, I'm super happy for him to kind of have his career transpire into Carolina. Who's going to take his spot? And I hope it's going to be Jordan Addison. I really do. I don't think any of us can avoid the conversation that, the news that transpired this week of him speeding, into St. Paul. And it kind of gives you that gut feeling as a Vikings fan is like, oh no, this is happening all over again. Whether it was, early days of Randy Moss, whether it was Adrian Peterson, whether it was, whoever. But it kind of just gives you this icky feeling like, oh shit, we have another guy who's going to cause problems for us. I really hope it's not the case. I really hope he's a young guy who made a mistake, who figures it out and, gets his stuff together right away. But we'll see. But I hope it is him, because as a fan who was at the draft party, nonetheless, you want to see the first round pick play out.
And sooner or later, it certainly has to be Addison. If he gets a governor on his speedometer, or if it doesn't turn out to be Addison as the only replacement, then we have a large problem on our hands because it will show that Kwesi screwed up. But I think Addison has a choice now, a line in the sand to make the speeding thing, which thank goodness he wasn't intoxicated or didn't hurt himself or anybody else. So he can rather easily move on. This thing happened in July, and by the time the season starts, it can be, no pun intended, in the rear view. But it's up to him if this is like the domino effect, the first thing of indicative behavior, or if it truly is an outlier. But for week one's sake, if you had to pencil in WR2, do you think that will be Addison or Osborne?
I think it'll be Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
At this stage, I think it'll be Osborne. He missed, rookie reporting. There's nothing to say that Osborne can't be, wide receiver number 2. And with the way that this team has gone, even with Josh Jefferson, we made him sit for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it'll be KJ. I hope to God that doesn't last very long, and nothing against KJ. I just hope our first round draft pick plays out and he can be wide receiver number 2, and KJ can just be that guy who is dependable and we need when we need him. But I think for week 1, starting in Tampa Bay, KJ is number 2.
That's what I'm leaning toward as well. And I think for all of us, or a large majority, that in the honeymoon right after the draft, you're kind of looking at your depth chart going, well, it's got to be Addison, first round pick. This is the new NFL. You got to start him. But then as you start to settle in and you see wasn't at mini camp, now he's speeding like a madman, then you start to say, okay, the writing's on the wall that maybe Osborne isn't going to hand him the scepter just yet. All right, so seeing who the replacement short-term and long-term from Adam Thielen, that tops the list. What's number 2 of items that Alli will be watching?
Well, it's going to be my favorite player currently on the team, and that's Danielle Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Is he showing up? Is he going to get a new contract? Is he going to get traded? I don't know. It has been eerily quiet on that end. I mean, for the entire off season, I haven't heard a freaking whisper about this contract. So, and for me, it's the only thing that's obvious about this situation is that he's not happy, but nothing else. What is he owed? $5.5 million by this season. I don't know if a new contract is going to be worked out before Saturday rolls around, or if he is going to be unhappy and just show up, but he might not show up at all. And frankly, I just wouldn't be surprised with how things are going these days, but anything seems possible.
In terms of the impact or outlook on the 2023 season, this one of your talkers is the biggest because this is the best defensive player. I don't think anybody can argue. No, I mean, maybe all time. Well, certainly all time on this roster, Harrison Smith is a better football player, in my opinion, than Danielle Hunter, but that's through, 10, 11 years. But right now, Hunter in the here and now is going to be 29 around Halloween, is the team's best defensive player. And we are trying to thread the needle of this competitive rebuild. And in my mind, if you trade Hunter for only draft picks and you don't get back like a Chase Young or something, then you're leaning into the rebuild parts of the competitive rebuild, because you will have taken on the task of improving a defense that ranked 30th in points allowed while trading Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, which seems completely backward. And in support of what you said, things have been quiet. The only thing we heard at minicamp was Kevin O'Connell saying that we want to be solutions oriented about Danielle Hunter. Well, no shit. Like, of course you're going to be.
Give me. I love KOC, but that doesn't give me anything.
No, that's the most diplomatic, mundane thing you could say, that we want to be solutions oriented. Like, of course you're going to be solutions oriented. So yes, I am with you. I don't think he'll show up Tuesday or thereafter until there's a deal done, because yes, $5.5 million in new money is disrespectful to him. Last, was it Tuesday or Thursday, Alex Highsmith for the Steelers got $17 million per year, 4 years, 68. So I think that's Alex Highsmith. He's kind of a young.
Who?
Yep. I think I think that's probably the lower bowl of what Daniil will get, and probably between 17 and 22 million from the Vikings or somewhere. So yes, everybody's on Hunter watch. What's number 3 on your radar?
Well, I don't think we can forget about Dalvin Cook leaving. Not to mention that he still hasn't been signed. So we'll see what happens there. I know the Vikings have sent him an offer. God bless. I don't think he's taken anything at this moment, and good for him, whatever. But what is it going to look like with, our president, Alexander Mattison, at running back number 1? It's not bad. It's just different. And is Alexander Mattison the player that Dalvin Cook is? No, absolutely not. But we've seen him make plays. We've seen him score. We've seen him be a game changer in a few spots. How is it going to look like now that he has the responsibility of being number 1? Furthermore, with everything going on with the situation in the NFL with the running backs, them having the Zoom call, them having this huge league-wide meeting of all these running backs, what is it going to look like for the running back position in the future, specifically with Mattison? And we know he's good. We've seen him be great. But what are we going to do without Dalvin Cook? And that's a little bit of more of something I want to watch and a concern that I have. But when I go to training camp, that's something I'm going to be specifically watching, is what does our run game look like?
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about Cook last year, although he's getting old for running back and he was on tap for a $14 million cap hit, I think there's an argument that can be made that without him, I mean, he had 4 game-saving either touchdowns or runs. Let's see if I can remember them all. The Buffalo game for sure saved the Buffalo game. The Miami game flipped it on its head when it was kind of just going status quo.
Absolutely.
The one-handed catch against the Commanders, and then to cap off the Colts comeback, that long ass scamper. So maybe they squeak out one of those, but I think without his home run hitting, so to speak, they're closer to a 9-8 team, which would have made a lot of sense in O'Connell's first year. First year head coach, 9-8, yep, building block. But I am interested too to see if we lean into Mattison like a bell cow and get him 300 carries, or if it's more Ty Chandler's in for this drive. Oh, look, it's Dwayne McBride. And I think we'll start to see the seedlings of that camp if this is truly going to be a committee thing, because to me, it seems like Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah are probably the types of guys that embrace a committee approach. But I think certainly Alexander Mattison will get the first handoff of 2023 against the Buccaneers.
Well, 100%. But if you go back to how the season played out, and I don't want to admit it, that I was at the Giants game and I stayed till the end and cried in my seat until they forced me out, is how did that team look? That team was a 9-8 team, bar none, and our running game was absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, they if you spend enough time, like I weirdly do, looking at numbers, the analytics, the metrics, the Vikings, according to those, were a hell of a lot closer to a 9-8 team than a 13-4 team. That's why everybody called them frauds. I think after they got their asses beat by the Cowboys, that's really when the fraud narrative started.
I seriously blocked that game out of my memory. I was at the bar during that game.
Oh yeah, it was an utter and that's what the Colts game felt like in the first half.
I was at that game with my dad, and I will say this until I'm literally buried under the tombstone. That is the greatest game I've ever been to, especially with my dad. It's my favorite picture.
Yeah.
And I know I've been on this pod, I know I've been on the show a million times talking about my dad.
You should.
But that is the greatest picture. I have a billion pictures of my dad and I at Vikings game. That's my favorite one. And it's literally him and I just screaming at each other. Just screaming. And that it will be my favorite picture till the end of time.
Yeah, and if you look at how long the Bills comeback stood, that fucker
my God,
for 30 years. So in theory, there is a chance that the Vikings could own this record for longer than 30 years, which it's so cool because it doesn't feel like a Vikings thing that you would own. Something like you'd think you'd be the victim of the largest squandering of a lead in NFL history.
Yeah, we're on the other side of that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to kicking. All right, we got two left. What is number 4 on your list?
Who the hell is going to be our cornerback?
Yeah,
who's filling our cornerback room? I mean, give me a name. That's where I'm so lost at this point. Is without Patrick Peterson, Duke Shelley. Oh, God, I miss Duke Shelley. Chris Boyd. Who do we have? We have Byron Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Who? No offense, I love the kid, want him to play amazing, but who? So at this point, I'm extremely concerned of who's filling that cornerback room. God bless. I hope Flores can build this team up and fill it the way that everybody think that Flores can. But at this point, we have what? We have Andrew Booth Jr., we have Caleb Evans, was it Jaquan Johnson and Mekhi Blackman.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we have.
Yep. And then a bunch of practice squatters.
Evans and Blackman have experience, absolutely, but what are we doing?
Yep.
What are we doing?
We're putting a lot of faith in Byron Murphy as an unabashed CB1. And then we have this hopeful maybe train on Booth, 2nd rounder, Evans, 3rd rounder, and Blackman, who's probably just by default the slot cornerback because there's nobody else. There's really nobody. Shannon Sullivan doesn't work here anymore. And then after him, it's dudes that even like I am hard pressed to have ever heard of. All right, we got the final one after the anxiety about cornerbacks, CBs. What is the final thing you're watching for training camp?
Who is Mr. Mankato? That we don't play a Mankato anymore. But who's Mr. Mankato?
Mm-hmm.
The unofficial superstar of camp, the standout of camp. Dustin, who do you think it is?
Well, I got to stay consistent on Vikings territory. I asked all of our writers for bold predictions heading into training camp. And my bold prediction is that Ivan Pace is the real deal, undrafted free agent. And that's mainly because I know he has the swagger and the college resume to be good. But if you look at who he has to beat out for defensive playing time, it's Jordan Hicks, Brian Asamoah, who I think will start, and then Troy Dye and Troy Reeder, who, in my opinion, are a couple dudes. So I think that Ivan Pace, who should have been drafted in the first place, but he's just a little too short, evidently, for the linebacker prediction. My projection for Mr. Mankato is Ivan Pace, but now I want to hear yours because I'm sure you got one.
Tell me, who do we have at safety right now?
Well, there's a bunch. Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus, Lewis Seen, Cameron Bynum, Jay Ward, and Theo Jackson.
Okay, so we can rule out Smith because...
That wouldn't be fair.
That wouldn't be fair. He's fine. Lewis Seen, I think, is a candidate, but that's too big of a question mark for me. We're still hearing from the horrible leg injury.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little shaky to give Mr. Mankato to a first rounder.
Okay, but
Mr. McCann, or is that who you're going to give it to?
Hear me out. Josh Metellus.
Okay, gotcha. That makes more sense.
It does, because this guy has been practicing. I mean, he's worked his way up, but he hasn't been an actual. How many times has it been an actual safety?
Not
so very few. He has been special teams, pretty much bar none. And this guy, if you listen to, if you go so far as listen to players, if you listen to coaches, hell, if you listen to Paul Allen, this guy is not a special teamser. He's a football player. I'm going with Josh Metellus.
I like it. I think it was about 6-7 weeks ago, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was on NFL Network, I think. I think that's where he was talking. And somebody said, in a all-encompassing interview, who's the Vikings' unsung hero? And without blinking, he said Josh Metellus.
Yes.
And so if the general manager is saying that, it's probably a good omen that Metellus is on tap to get some real meaningful defensive playing time in Brian Flores' system.
I mean, last year so without the Flores system, last year he had a pair of block punts.
Mm-hmm.
Now take the general manager's word for it. Now we have Brian Flores, one of the best defensive coordinators of this generation. And we have a guy who's, all right, 5'11", 5'12", 200 pounds, 2 block punts. This guy, I don't know. I just have a feeling about him. We've heard KOC keep good words about him, especially for like comparing him to the stepping stones of Harrison Smith, our guy Harry, who we know is going into the Hall of Fame. Is it fair to give him, Mr. Mankato award for him not being a first year? I don't know, but for him being actually maybe slotted into a safety position for the first time, maybe it is.
No, I think a full Metellus breakout where he grabs the free safety job by the throat, I think that would for certain, because right now you and I know Josh Metellus because we love this team like bar none. Like the guy like Brad at the grocery store who likes the Vikings doesn't really know Josh Metellus, because he's a special teams guy. So I think him making a big noise at camp would probably fit the criteria of Mr. Mankato.
If you go back so far as to think about, like, come full circle when we were talking about Adam Thielen.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about Adam Thielen when he first started out, when he got that block punt against Carolina,
yeah.
I mean, I hope to God the story repeats itself in some way, shape, or form, but that kind of gives me the same feels.
Yeah, and he's likable too, so that helps. All right, Alli, so we are out of time. Where can we follow you on Twitter? Give me that real quick.
It's Alli, ALLI _ Elise, ELISE 25.
Excellent. And you're gonna try to go to a couple of Vikings games this year?
Oh God, yeah. Okay, so we're going to the first and the last practice of training camp. So we're gonna be there this Saturday, and then we're gonna be there at the last one in August. And then for sure, you're going to see us at the Buccaneers game.
Perfect.
The season opener. And then it looks like we'll be at plenty more, but for sure we have season tickets at the Saints game as well.
Perfect. Perfection. All right. Well, off air, I'll message you. I'm going to pencil you in for about 3 weeks from now after we see a couple preseason games to get your vibe, even though those are just kind of auditions for roster spots. But we appreciate you joining us, and we shall talk to you in about 3 weeks. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh yeah. We'll look forward to talking to you soon. Take it easy.
You too.